With a question from Jody Demling.
Chris, after Saturday and then the quick turnaround, can you just kind of talk about the attitude maybe yesterday that you saw from the guys, and a little bit about Pitt, because this is a team that I think they've won 5 in a row, and they just got the Sabandi kid eligible, who is a good player. So this is a much better team than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I think when you lose the way that we did in the manner that we did on Saturday, it really doesn't matter too much to you as a coach who your next opponent is. It's more who your team is. And I do think that we were all humbled on Saturday against a really good Wisconsin team. We have to get better in a lot of different areas. I think, Pitt's going to challenge us in a few of the areas that we weren't very good at on Saturday. They're a very, very tough group. I think that's been the stamp that Coach Capel's put on Pittsburgh since he's arrived. And so we know we're going to be challenged at a high level in our first conference game. We've got a lot to learn and get better at. And I thought we took a step forward yesterday in our practice, and we're going to have to continue to take steps forward.
Go to Shannon.
Pitt is number 2 in the ACC in rebounding margin, and I just was curious of your assessment of how that battle you see playing out tomorrow.
Well, I see how I'd like it to play out. How that does play out will be a big part of whether we're successful or not. I don't know if I've ever seen a guy, have back-to-back 20-point, 20-rebound performances, like Champagne has. They've got a lot of guys that are very versatile, that are 6'7", that are athletic, that have a Warriors mentality on the glass. And I think if you're a team that beats Pittsburgh, it's because you limit second chance points. But they're going to be aggressive, whether that's attacking you off the bounce, posting you up, or rebounding the ball. Again, that's sort of the identity that Coach Capel's teams have carved out in his 3 years with the program.
Go to Tim and then Michael.
Yeah, Chris, a couple of weeks ago, Jeff Capel expressed some misgivings about continuing to play during the pandemic, and of course, he's since contracted it himself. As you've been on these conference calls with coaches in the league, do you sense a united front here, or are there numerous coaches who question whether these games should be played at all?
Well, in fairness, Tim, I haven't been on any of those calls probably in 2 months since the season started. We had a lot of those calls over the off season. And as you can imagine, opinions range from like, hey, we have to figure out a way to get the season in to all the way to we should be canceling the season. And I don't think that anything's happened over the last 2 months that have changed the variety of comments and opinions that you get in terms of, playing games. Is it the right thing to do? I said at the time, and I'll say it again, when we play, no one has the virus. I mean, it's just, that's why you see teams pausing and games being canceled. We're trying to do, what we can as best we can to let the kids enjoy what they do, and that's play basketball. And it's what they've worked for their entire prep school career and college career. They want to play the games, but we're trying to do it in the safest manner possible.
As a quick follow-up, have you had a chance to talk to Coach Capel since he came down with COVID?
I haven't. I was going to reach out to him today when I jumped on the plane through text. It's been a quick turnaround. We've had a lot of things that we have to figure out here at Louisville after the game on Saturday. But Jeff's been really good to me, and so I probably should have done that by now, to be quite honest, Tim. But I have not.
Thank you,
Michael.
Hey, Coach. Michael McCammon, Cardinal Authority. In your post-game comments at Wisconsin, you brought up the lack of communication amongst your players. With such a young team, what can you do? How do you teach guys to become more vocal, especially once the season has begun?
Well, we teach them that every day, Michael, when we're in practice. I mean, that's an expectation. But when games come around, the nature, is to do what you're used to and do what have, ingrained as a habit, really your whole life. And, very, very few high school basketball players say a word, other than to talk a little smack if they hit a shot, but they don't have any meaningful communication for the most part when they play games, how to switch, how to switch back, who to pick up in transition, what's coming, watch this screen, watch this back screen. It's just foreign to them. And so again, with a young team, and it probably gets really highlighted when you're in an empty arena, how vocal one team is or a certain player is, and maybe how quiet others are. And so, we learned a lot about ourselves on Saturday. The first two out of three 3-point shots that were made were simply because we didn't execute a switch on a ball screen. And I really feel like that came down to a lack of communication.
Go to Kent and then Paul.
Chris, will Karl LoVett be available tomorrow? And if he is, he seems like a guy who does communicate on the floor really well. He seems like a guy who brings toughness. Just the fact that if you have him, does his presence maybe help other guys in those departments?
Karl LoVett will be available. And yes, he helps in a lot of ways. I think, somebody had mentioned that, well, he's not going to make up a whatever deficit that was, 30-something points, 37 points. And he doesn't, but it slides David over a little bit. It generates easier shots for everybody. It allows to have more experience on the floor with that voice. Certainly he's not the cure-all. Our other guys have to be able to hold their own in certain areas. And hopefully what happened on Saturday will be something that really helps our team in the long run, as tough as it felt on Saturday.
Paul.
Chris, it's Paul Rogers. After the game, you were pretty complimentary of Gabe White. Could you talk a little more about that, what you liked about what he did?
Well, first I'd say that Gabe was the same exact player on the game floor, Paul, as he was on the practice floor, which sounds not very enlightening. Sounds like that should just be common, but you'd be surprised when the lights come on and it's truly a game. Some of the errant shots that you wouldn't take in practice that you take in the game. Your voice in practice becomes muted in the game. You don't call out the back screen like you do in practice when the 4 coaches are sitting there on the floor right next to you like you're in Little League. And so it was really refreshing. I shouldn't say surprising, but refreshing to see Gabe have really the loudest voice on the floor when he was in. I thought he was directing. I thought he was alerting his teammates to things that were happening. And not only was he doing that, he was right. He was correct in the things that he was assessing and communicating on the floor. And to do that as a freshman was awfully impressive. And so, Gabe does not lack for an IQ. We're just got to continue to get him more and more mobile, more and more athletic, and used to playing against more athletic players than he is. And he's going to get there. And thought Saturday was really encouraging.
Close it out with a question from Tim.
Yeah, Chris, I apologize for spinning ahead a little bit, but holiday deadlines dictate that we start compiling our Kentucky stuff now. Just wondered if you feel that this year's game is going to have any less buzz than normal because the way Kentucky's playing and coming off your Wisconsin loss. Do you see any difference in the way people are going to react and knowing that the arena is going to be only partially full?
Yeah, fortunately, I don't have to worry about deadlines. Those are yours, not mine. I'm going to worry about Pittsburgh tomorrow, and then I'll worry about Kentucky after that. But I think a lot of times that that notion that, oh, the game won't mean as much. People like to say that 3 or 4 days out. So when that time comes, I'll be more than happy to talk about Kentucky. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach, and thanks for joining us today.